Welcome back to America's Forum. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Prosecutors now say the Boston Marathon bombers used Christmas lights to make the bombs that exploded at the finish of that 2013 race. Prosecutors have released a note from the surviving brother showing he was eager to take credit for this bombing. It's a sick story, but the man who has the handle on it, from my perspective, and always offers a refreshing right of center perspective from Boston, Boston Herald columnist and WRKO talk show host Howie Carr. Welcome once again to America's Forum.
Thank you, JD. Thanks for having me on. Now we know why the defense attorneys, who we're paying for, by the way, didn't want this note released, because it makes it pretty clear that he was a willing conspirator with his brother. It's been theorized by all of his apologists in the media that, oh, he was just a good kid, an all-American drug dealing boy, and his brother was the bad guy, the one that killed everybody, and we can't let his brotherly love be held against him. But hey, he was in for a penny and in for a pound, according to that note.
Yeah, and Howie, why don't we take a look at part of that letter from Tsarnaev? It reportedly was written in pencil on the wall of the boat where he was hiding, and it reads in part, quote, "I'm jealous of my brother who has received the reward of Inshallah before me. I do not mourn because his soul is very much alive. God has a plan for each person. Mine was to hide in this boat and shed some light on our actions. I ask Allah to make me a shaheed, to allow me to return to him and be among all the righteous people in the highest levels of heaven. He who Allah guides, no one can misguide. The U.S. government is killing our innocent civilians. Stop killing our innocent people, and we will stop." So, Howie, this is the guy who Rolling Stone has tried to turn into some weird teenage heartthrob, the prison malls and the bleeding heart leftists trying to find 1,000,001 excuses, where it seems to me it's pretty simple. It's Islamic extremism, Islamism, that's causing this problem with the surviving brother.
Right, exactly, and don't forget that they also come to his appearances in federal court, and they stand outside holding these signs about how much they love him. I would like to think that this would put an end to the Tiger Beat magazine style coverage, but I very much doubt it. What was kind of weird too in the court proceedings yesterday, they didn't tell him how his brother got insula, or whatever they called it, meaning killed, I guess. He was run over by his own brother. They wanted to spare him the emotional trauma. What was that all about? He didn't care about the emotional trauma of anybody else, and who was standing at the finish line at the Boston Marathon. He didn't care about putting most of the city in a lockdown for 24 hours.
Hey, Howie, why we're getting this instant revisionism from the usual suspects at the Globe et al., do any of the victims show up in court? Were any of those who suffered wounds, who survived, were they in court, or any parents of the deceased there yesterday?
No, they don't show up. No, it's not a circus. You know the way it is, JD. Some of these trials, one or two people will have nothing better to do than go to the court proceedings every day, and then go outside and probably become like local TV stars, get their 15 minutes of fame. But there's nobody like that here. I mean, let's be honest, the people that were maimed and injured, they're still going through rehab. They're still trying to get their lives back together. I mean, you lose a limb or two. I mean, it's a process that takes the rest of your life to adjust to.
Back to the surviving Tsarnaev brother, when you see what he wrote, and you see that he was quite straightforward about the way he perceives his faith, not making apology, basically engaged in jihad. When we have the Orwellian newspeak that emanates from the Obama administration, memos, if not orders, circulated at the Pentagon to quit talking about Islamism or Islamofascism, remove that from the vocabulary, take away any talk about jihad. How on earth can this administration, with a straight face now, continue to defend that in the wake of this letter written by the surviving terrorist?
They can't, but they don't care. They have more recent scandals. Hey, dude, this happened like a year ago, right?
Yeah.
That's their ultimate comeback. How about Governor Deval Patrick? We've talked about this before, but 36 hours after this note was in his hands, after this note was seen by the police for the first time, he goes on CBS, Face the Nation, with Bob Schieffer. Schieffer asks him, what was the motive of these two individuals? And he says, we don't know the motives of these two young fellas. Lies on national TV.
It is sad to see. There is another subject we need to address, Howie. Your most recent column on immigration I read with interest because, Howie, in that column you seem to adopt the language of the open borders amnesty crowd and turn it around. Give us some background on this latest column.
Right. Well, it was an Ecuadorian drunk driver, illegal alien, ran over an American motorcyclist in a town called Milford, which is in Worcester County, central Massachusetts, and they totally bent over backwards to make a victim out of this guy. The judge wrote that he lacked the enzyme to metabolize alcohol, therefore he wasn't responsible for driving drunk. He didn't know English. He claimed he didn't know English or Spanish, and he only knew the language Quechua, and so therefore he couldn't understand the American justice. Even though he had a long record in Milford, where he'd lived for about 10 years, and had beaten a number of fairly serious raps, like assaulting a first provider, in this case a fireman. So I turned it around, JD, and I said in my column, I said, they want to reach out to all these communities that are living in the shadows and don't trust the police. I said, why don't we reach out to the bank robbing community? They call these people dreamers that come over the border. I mean, bank robbers have dreams too. They hope the mask doesn't fall off. They hope the red dye pack doesn't go off in their money. They hope the teller doesn't hit the silent alarm. And it's held against them that they use machine guns. It's only a machine gun is part of the dreamer's culture, Yeah. And why are we having these blatantly profiling laws that are aimed only at bank robbing dreamers, like 30 years on and after for possession of a machine gun in the commission of a felony?
Yeah, you make a valid point, and I just want to go back to one passage in the column specifically that you write. Drive drunk, run over Americans, demand that the natives learn your language instead of vice versa. In Somerville now, you can do whatever the hell you please as long as you're an illegal alien. And there is this perverse distinction. At once, it seems we're setting up a permanent underclass, but an underclass that has these perversely political correct exceptions made for their illegal presence in our society.
Yeah, the mayor of Somerville, where he issued a new order that basically illegal aliens are above the law. He was interviewed yesterday on various shows, and he said, these illegal aliens are risking their lives every day to go to work. And what does that mean? I mean, anytime you get in a car, you could be killed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how are illegal aliens any different than the rest of us? The only difference is most of us who are Americans, we're more likely to get killed by illegal aliens than we are by Americans, if you look at the numbers and the percentages.
There is such insistent myth-making on the myth of what the left would call, or the open borders crowd that actually transcends party lines, the noble migrant. And one of the most troubling situations involves drunk driving or driving without insurance, getting into repeated accidents. My wife's uncle critically injured in 2 of those accidents out in Arizona, and in both cases, the illegal operating the other motor vehicle just walked away, no insurance and no consequence to his actions. Less than about 30 seconds here. Take the final word, Howie.
Yeah, JD, where you and I used to live in North Carolina, I read a story once about Durham County. It said the illegal aliens who got arrested late at night by the sheriff's department had learned that all they had to do was say no habla inglés, and they'd be let go, because the sheriff's department wasn't going to hire a translator, bring in a cop to go to the court, and then have him not show up. So they were basically getting a total pass on driving drunk in Durham County.
A total outrage, Howie. We appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Thanks so much for your time. There is more to come on America's Forum. Please stay tuned.